All right, everybody. So, welcome to the podcast. Have Jeremy Odom back on the podcast with us. So, Jeremy Odom, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back, Bobby.
Jeremy, so it's been some time since you last came on the podcast. Since you were last here, you relocated. You've had a promotion. You've been working through real estate. Talk to us, man. Tell us what's new. Tell us what you got going on with your life.
Oh man, great business opportunities and management opportunities. I've been fortunate enough to come up here to Little Rock, lock in operations. Not only be able to get a promotion into operations, but the real estate market up here is pretty hot and a lot of great opportunities.
With the new promotion at the job, man, what are you in charge of? What do you got going on? What's that situation been like for you?
Man, it's been it's kind of a coming to home situation. Being able to step in and run with the team and take over the front half days inbound operation from everything from receiving to stowing. It's been nice.
And during that operation, how much work are you guys doing? How many units a day? How many shipments a day? What do you actually have going on? What are you controlling? How much manpower are you working with?
Oh man, right now with us being in a new launch, going into the first peak, still operating at a 60% occupation of the building with our restrictions on the mechanisms in place. We're still running anywhere between a 220, 250 manpower between stores and inbound, and pushing up to about 250 a period.
So you're working an active construction zone. What has that been like running an operation through an active construction zone?
Oh, it's definitely interesting. Needless to say, with being able to keep the workplace safe and keep the environment safe, you have to not only educate your team, educate your management force. You got to work through everybody at every moment. You got to literally have eyes all over the operation. First and foremost, you want a safe work environment. You want to make sure your team and everybody's educated in the proper protocols. And it's a little added stress, but it's the good stress because then once you know the plan, you're good to go.
Well, what have been your biggest challenges working in a brand new building? Because this new building that you're working at, it's a state-of-the-art facility. It has robotics all over the place. It has conveyance all over the place. What are your biggest challenges working in a brand new high-tech facility like that?
Man, the sheer volume that we're going to be able to produce here coming up shortly, we haven't even met our max potential. The conveyance is going to be the biggest call out. You know, this is my fourth launch in a fourth building. And it's always the same thing. It's always going to be conveyance because it's a new building, new construction, and you gotta max it and break it for them to know where the pressure points are and how to relieve it and what motor replacements and what speeds to put everything at. But just in the 3 months since we've launched with the motor replacement, a couple of speed adjustments here and there, we've been able to pretty much get it flowing.
Let me ask you something. So, conveyance is a continuous issue in Amazon buildings, as I'm sure plenty of other facilities, companies throughout the country. Why is conveyance not more simple? Why is it not more easy to use?
Well, as you've seen through this launch and any previous launch, every year we launch a new gen. So the new buildings come out with the newest technology, so it has been tried, true, and tested. And it typically takes you about a good year to year and a half of running it to find out the flaws. And then once you master the flaws, the next year runs of launches and buildings come out with their new conveyance. They take little pieces of the stuff that works and adds it to the new buildings, and then until everything is copacetic, you don't know the true outcome. I mean, look at Jax 2. When we were launching Jax 2, it took us almost 2 years before we got all the motors and gears and ratios and the conveyance up there with Decamp to where we actually did a second launch of Decamp.
Right. Now, if you were in charge of conveyance, what would be one change you would make to it?
Oh, I'd post up a full time. We have contractors and controllers that come in all the time, and they're spending a couple hours, a couple days going into a new launch. I would recommend that we'd have controllers on site 24/7, as well as the RME techs to be able to fix and actually have everything tested prior to a launch, not open the doors and jump right into it. Because as we learned with this one, as many contractors as we've had in this building and as many components and parts that were built in this building on the go while we were operating, we were running stuff prior to the other half of the conveyance running. So you didn't get a true read of what needed to be fixed until we unlocked the other half of the operation.
No, Jeremy, compared to your peers, you're running one of the better shifts, one of the better operations. What type of management techniques do you use with your managers and your assistant managers to ensure that you run a successful operation?
Pretty much what I do is I set achievable goals coming from one of the flagship operations of the 72 AR sortables we have in our company. Knowing the plan, setting achievable goals, being able to provide the positive and negative feedback in a learning manner to where everybody's new to this operation. This is not a 100% all the veterans come to these buildings. You usually have a 70-30 blend, 70% being new to Amazon, 30 that are veterans. But then you, out of those 30% that are coming from other Amazons, you know, they come from non-sorts, ACLs, Amazon Airs. They're not used to the AR robotic side of the operation. So what I've been able to do is take the knowledge base from the 4 other ARs, because I've kept my career in the AR side of things to where I know what we've done that works. I know what does not work. I know where we can throttle up or throttle down, where other shifts were struggling to get volume pushed through or having hindrance with conveyance. There's always workarounds, and you got to be able to know that you might come up with the best plan, but your plan is going to deviate and change every 15 minutes, every hour, every 3 hours. So as long as you're adaptable and you can overcome circumstances that you can't control and come out with the feedback and knowledge that you can express to your team and show them the ways, then they can then spread that down to the PAs and the PGs and keep a steady, continuous workforce going.
What specifically excites you most about working in the AR rather than some of the other building types?
Oh man, what I like is what everybody fears.
I like that.
I like the knowing
the intensity.
that the intensities of every day is different. You never have 2 days the same. You are truly surprised and shocked how slow time goes when you actually run a smooth operation and you don't have hiccups. So being able to be in an operation that's going to continuously have problems or need headcount or need labor pool or need conveyance adjustments, being able to adapt, being able to overcome those is what drives me. I like the challenge of the day-to-day. I like being able to expand on my plan, and then knowing that at the end of the day, I'm still going to achieve my goal. It may not be the original plan I laid out at 4 o'clock in the morning or the previous day, but at the end of the day, I hit the plan, I exceed the plan, and then I have the tools that I can put in place for the next shift saying, hey, this is what we saw, this is what we did, try this on your shift, let me know how it goes, because every shift is different.
Give me your best piece of advice for a fellow ops manager or for a senior manager.
The best piece of advice I would say is know your team, train your team, and trust your team. Your team will make or break you, and if you get the buy-in, the knowledge close on your team, and they know that you're there for them, it's not a sink or swim situation coming as a come up, as you're fully aware of, Bobby. You've had full trust and faith in me. You know wherever you're going to place me, I'm going to operate.
Oh yeah.
And knowing the ins and outs of both inbound and outbound has been able to make my career successful and work with the teams and get everything set up.
Oh yeah. So with that being said, we got Anita Walker just walking in. So Anita, welcome. Good to have you on with us as well too. So great points of view right there, Jeremy. And transitioning, shifting gears. Talk to me about real estate, man. Talk to me about what you're doing out here in Little Rock, what you've been looking at, and other things that you got going on within the real estate market.
Well, since I've been out here, the market has jumped up since April when we first came out here and was looking. With all the new businesses coming up here from Costco's to Amazon's, there's been anywhere between a 20 to 40% increase in real estate out here. So I've been on the market looking for either land opportunities anywhere between 5 to 20 acres where I can build up. If I can get a land opportunity, I'll take an acre out, build my own house, then I'll subdivide the other 19 acres to be able to put 19 other houses in and use that as a passive income with what I can then sell that house and look into a bigger market. I'm also looking at a bigger home up here that's got 10 acres that's been a house I've been eyeballing for about 8 months that I might be pulling the trigger on.
Beautiful brick home.
Beautiful, beautiful home that if I pull the trigger on that, it's going to be a forever halfway point for my other property.
What are your thoughts on the brick homes down here? I mean, I've grown to really appreciate the Alabama, the Arkansas, the Georgia brick home. What have your thoughts been on that?
I've always been from Alabama, I'm always favored the brick homes.
So is Anita.
Yes,
Interesting.
I know
Very
Anita,
interesting.
myself, Rolanda, all of us
Oh,
are
yeah.
from Alabama. So I will forever always favor the bricks. I love the brick. I love the architecture. I love the stonework, and just the stability and the sturdiness of the homes. And they're just, it's beautiful art.
So last night with the hurricanes, man, the one thing I could think about is, hey, I'm happy that I'm in a brick home right now. I don't know how great it would stand it. What's your take on tornadoes and brick homes? Is this where you want to be? What does that situation look like from your point of view?
Well, here's where the Floridian side of me comes out. I'd rather be in a hurricane back home than deal with tornadoes that I can't see up here.
Absolutely.
But if I got to deal with a tornado, I'd rather be in a brick home or one that has a basement, because that was definitely an insight of excitement that I wasn't anticipating last night.
Why was this home not built with a basement? This is Arkansas. This home right here has no basement built in. I don't understand that.
That's actually a very good question. I was going to ask you about that, about this property, because it's a gorgeous home. But depending on where you are to the water line, that's the only other hindrance. That pretty much every home up here comes with a basement, unless you live on the level where the water is, and then they can't build substructures under your home.
So one of the things I mentioned to Quasi probably 2 months back when we had a incoming tornado alarm, I'm like, how do these homes in this neighborhood not have a basement? What am I supposed to do in this situation with no basement? So I was surprised that modern homes being built in Arkansas do not come with small little basements with a trap door that I can quickly go down into.
One thing that I've looked at one of the houses I was looking at up here, they actually had a fear room in the garage that they had installed after they had their house built, which literally what you said, it has the trap door. It sits about 5 feet down. You go into there and you close the door and it locks in, for making a substitute to having a basement. So I'm noticing a lot of the new contracts and constructions that are around here, they're now making that as an option for those that don't have basements.
Smart move. I like it. I'm actually curious what the cost would be on that right there. Jeremy, last time you came on, man, we talked about Wyoming, your property out there, man. Something that got my attention. Wyoming, it's a state with a population that's very, very light, man. What do you have going on out there in Wyoming, man? What's your recommendations to people that might want to ranch or thinking about that huge state of Wyoming out there?
Wyoming's one of those states, Wyoming, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. If you're looking for land, you're looking for a comfortable retirement place or a property that you can build up on, build time up, have family with, highly, highly recommend it. It's one of the few states left other than like shooting up to Alaska.
Yeah.
When you can get out
Maine.
the Great Plains, like any area like that, real estate market's phenomenal. You get in there, you can buy you a couple 100 acres. You can even have it set up as a ranch. You can do it as where you're leasing it, subleasing it to your neighbors, and they can have their cattle or their buffalo come out and graze on your land. You can make a great passive income with it. It's just, I highly recommend in this day and age.
What are the summers like in Wyoming?
It's absolutely gorgeous. It's just north enough to where it doesn't get hot.
It's always one of my questions. What are the summers like?
Yeah.
What are you doing in the summertime then?
It's not hot. It's not like living in Arizona. But
Yeah.
when it gets cold and that snow hits, you do want to head the other way. I learned about snow embankments for cattle when I was in Wyoming, because I was like, why do they have shutters on the side of the road? And they're like, oh, when the snowstorms hit, the cattle's get up against the wall and it protects it for up to 10, 12 feet of snow. And I'm like, learned something new. Did not know that.
So do people have pools in Wyoming for summertime?
Oh yeah, you got pools. A lot of people have private lakes. That's the other thing.
Private lakes.
You have neighbors that have runways and their own airports on their property where they fly in and out on their planes or come in and go on their helicopters. Like if you want privacy in your own place,
Go out that way.
Yeah, you set roots.
Amelia Island, man. Real estate market skyrocketing, man. Florida, north of Jacksonville, man. What are your thoughts on that area right now?
To this day, I still get offers to sell, but I'm not selling. I'm going to have a Florida home always and forever.
Yeah.
I got my 2 boys graduating this year. My daughter graduated last year. So if we end up locking in something up here, I'll have my 2 youngins up here with me. I'll leave the house down there for my older 3 to go to college while they go to school to help to get them set up and get them right with life. And then when it starts snowing up here, I'll be a snowbird and heading back down south.
Dude, I miss that market so much. I spent today going to our town center here in Little Rock, Arkansas. I went up towards North Little Rock to do clothes shopping in one of the malls up there and just could not find what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
Yeah, the limitation here, it's naturally a gorgeous state. And if you're outdoors and you're just exploring, it's phenomenal.
Great outdoor state.
But it's definitely got that mentality. It's set back in time a little bit. You got about a 10 to 15 year buffer before it catches up. You know, everything closed on Sunday, closes at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, no
opens
alcohol
at
on
10
Sundays.
o'clock, no alcohol on Sundays. It's very, very where everybody was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything that I was looking for today, man. I only went out for like 6 hours, but I could not find what I was looking for. And if I was in Jacksonville, in the St. John's Town Center, I would be locking certain things up. Going down to St. Augustine, Florida, I would be locking stuff up. Did you ever think about buying property in St. Augustine, Florida?
Actually, I looked. St. Augustine is beautiful, but you can't be actually in St. Augustine. My son's actually looking at a college at Flagler down there in St. Augustine, and it's beautiful. But if you want to live in St. Augustine next to the college, you're going to end up paying 2 to 3 times what you would on the outskirts. So a place like St. Augustine, unless you're going to do an Airbnb and do something where you sublease it out, you want to live a little bit further inland to where you only got a short drive to St. Augustine.
Now, Jeremy, in regards to investing and investments, man, I know you're a big fan of some of the companies such as Rivian, Lucid, Tesla. Talk to me about those, man. I've recently gotten a few of those. What are your thoughts about it? What are you expecting? What do you want to see moving forward from them?
Well, at the end of the day, man, all the laws, all the world, all the regulations are coming down to where we're going to be using more electrical vehicles, getting away from the gas and the fossil fuels. So the best way to get in on the front end of it is, if they're passing laws and they got everything going through Congress and the world's going to electric cars, this is the time to get into like the Teslas, the Rivians, Lordstown in Europe. There's a lot of electrical car companies. But then not only are you investing into those, what is it that powers those? People fail to realize
Right.
the multiple of opportunities because they hear Tesla, oh, I'm going to invest in Tesla. Well, what powers Tesla? Oh, wait, you need electricity. So why not invest in electricity? We don't currently have the infrastructure to power all the electric cars for everybody around the world. So obviously we're going to have to build that infrastructure. We're going to have to produce and perform and make that power supply. Then you got to look at the parts that are in the car, the lithium batteries. You got to look at the rubber for the tires. You got to look at the hoses. All those different components is money that can be made if you jump in now on the investments and what it costs and what it takes to actually build the vehicles and power the vehicles.
That's like when LTE, when 4G, 5G were coming around. You were specifically talking to me about certain types of investments to go towards there, certain types of stocks to go towards there, because as we go towards 5G, you were saying what would happen during those time frames.
Well, with us going into 5G, in order to do the 5G, you have to have phone towers. In order to have phone towers, you have to have contracts from the different companies that are going to sublease the tower. So people look at real estate as buying acreage and buying homes, but if you look at the market from drones to the 5G networks, the satellite services, everything that comes like that, you're starting to see more towers populate and pop up on people's properties or on side of mountains. Not only does the tower populate, but then you can have up to 10, 15 different companies with their different cell service, drone service, satellite feeds coming onto that tower. And if you get into that platform or get into that market base, you can invest in that as it's getting larger and it's growing, as y'all noticed over the last couple of years. Cell phone coverage that used to not have in Little Rock or middle of Georgia, we now have coverage everywhere. That is due to the satellites, that's due to the towers, and that's due to the real estate of the towers when you can invest in them.
No, that was going to be one of my questions. Is like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are very big on the future of satellites providing Wi-Fi and cell phone reception. What is going on with that, man? Are they just going to be beaming down Wi-Fi? How does that actually function and work?
Well, that's the thing people don't realize with all these different space programs. It's not just a space race to get into space. It's also a space race to shoot satellites into the orbit. Those satellites have components. And with those components, it's raw material. And if you invest in those raw materials and we're building more satellites and we're sending more into the space, that is more investment opportunities because you have replacement parts, you have manufacturing costs, you have employees. This is why people need to look and step back at the bigger overall picture. If we start building the space what were they calling it up there? The space shuttles and stuff where you were going to have a place to stay in space.
Yeah.
You're going to have the materials to build that. You're going to have to create and build a manufacturing complex that's going to be able to build it like NASA builds their infrastructure for their spaceships and satellites. And we are truly on the infrastructure of the next big thing that's going to hit in the next 50 to 100 years.
It's so confusing to me. I don't know, is socialism the future? Is capitalism the future? What is the future?
That's the forever question right now. Everybody's on the fence of worrying about the cost of fuel, worrying about socialism, worried about capitalism, worried about anything.
So
and
much
everything.
worry.
We're
Inevitable worry almost, right?
We're in a fear state right now, man, and it's not a good place to be in. But as long as you're prepared, you take care of what you got to take care of. If we go into a recession, if we have prices spiking up, just make sure you're ahead of the curve.
That's why I read books on stoicism and being more stoic. John Gibson, been on the podcast before, man. Talked a lot about being stoic and stoicism and the importance of that, man. I read that book over there every day moving forward, and as soon as I'm done with that book, I'm going to continue reading other types of stoic book. Are you familiar with that at all, or?
You mentioned something about it, and I'm going to get a copy of that book. I was finishing a couple other books myself.
What have you been reading recently?
That one that I've been getting into since we've been up here in Little Rock, there's a lot of really good survival guides that not only are survival books, but it's mental preparedness and it's mental awareness of your surroundings and
I like that.
How to make cognitive decisions and not be reactive. And if you're reactive, you can make the wrong decision. But if you stop and think and actually realize your situation at hand and how you could change the outcome of it, you can apply that to your everyday life. And that's one thing that's also made me successful with Amazon is a lot of people are very reactive and then they make the wrong decision and then they repeat and make another wrong decision. If you would have stepped back, waited 5 minutes, wrote it out, and planned it properly, you can avoid an extra couple hours of work.
Does it deal with being proactive and how you can be more proactive?
Oh yes, 100%. It's that mindset of know the plan, know the plan. And if you know a plan and you're willing to deviate from it to provide the same outcome, that's all it takes. And that's why I said being able to be, it's weird to put it in that context, but being a survivor at Amazon, it's like we don't go by years at Amazon. This is our 5th peak, like we're 5 peaks deep. And so,
dude, I've learned more in Amazon and developed more in Amazon in 6 years than my 6 years with the military. It's crazy, but it's just the truth.
And the plethora of people that come and go from Amazon and the new information, new technology, that's one of the perks of being able to say
so much technology.
It's you're
so
light
much.
years ahead, and then you have competitors reaching out to you, and then they're like, "We want you to come work for us," but they're so dated, and it's like, the turnaround. People will leave and test the waters, but then they're back in 6 months. Like, no, they're so old school and they don't know this, and that's what the other allure is just the newness of Amazon.
Well, Jeremy, man, much appreciated having you back on. Always good to hear you share a wealth of information from a man of many trades and many travels. You will be welcome back on very soon, so thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.